In our final video here, you've made it all the way to the end of this small course, this small exploration of Green Animism, this initiation into new ways of seeing and perceiving. Congratulations on doing that. Thank you for coming along and listening and participating and being open to new ways of doing things in old ways, right? In this video, I want to give you 3 super practical, super approachable ways that you can engage with a spirited world right now. 3 things you can do in the moment or within a few minutes of finishing this video that will play on the initiations given and the ideas given and really bring you all the way into living animism, to embodying animism, and to starting that process of making spiritual allies and connecting with the spirits who share their world with you, and starting to even see and perceive the world through the animistic lens in a more profound way. So the first thing is to perceive and experience personhood, right? And this is kind of what we talked about in the last video. You kind of fake it till you make it, and that's okay. What we're actually doing when we fake it, when we imagine, pretend, make believe, creative visualize, is we're giving form, right? We're putting a form through our own thought to the world around us and creating kind of a meeting place between us and otherness, right? So it's not really even faking it. It's actually a pretty deep and profound act of magic, but it's gonna feel like you're pretending, and that's totally okay. Again, with practice, those spaces of pretending, of make-believe, of creative visualization will expand and overflow and take on a life of their own, and they will start guiding you. And this is as we're stepping into spaces of liminality and kind of acting as our own go-betweens between the world that we inhabit and the other world, the world of spirit, the world of the plant spirits, or whoever you're working with. So this can be a really simple exercise and really fun. You can do this while you're, walking to work, walking the dog, taking a walk through a park, around your block, sitting in your backyard. Maybe you go on hikes and you get to go access wild spaces. Anywhere really outside where you can encounter the world being the world, right? You theoretically could do this indoors, but I think that getting outside of the 4 walls and just experiencing nature kind of as nature wants to be, as nature's unfolding, really gives this a special edge. And so what we do is remind ourselves that the world is filled with people, only some of whom are human, all of whom deserve respect. And then we step out into the world. And as we do that, we allow for every tree, every plant, every flower, every bush, every animal, and every sacred space that we encounter to have personhood. And what I like to do is invite people to imagine, pretend, make believe that each of these different beings that they encounter has a light glowing from their center. So you might see a tree and you would just kind of pretend that there's a glowing light coming out of the center of that tree's trunk. Or you might pass a rose bush and maybe there's a transcendent kind of pink light glowing from the inside, the hidden inside of that dense bush. Or maybe somebody walks by you with their dog, right? And you allow for not only the human, but the dog to have a light glowing from within them. And basically what this does is invites your intuition, your own thinking heart, to engage with a deeper reality of the person, right? And again, it's gonna feel like you're just walking around make-believing people have light coming off of them, and that's totally okay. It's an initiation, it's a beginning, right? It allows us to bridge a gap by projecting our visualization onto the space of another person. It connects us and it links us in a way that we've been conditioned and trained to disconnect, right? So it's gonna seem very basic and a little silly sometimes, and that's okay because it's still the work, right? It's still doing what we want it to do. And from there, you could, if you have time, maybe to stop at a tree that feels particularly magnetic to you, or when you imagine or make believe the light coming off that tree, somehow that light takes on a particular strength or power that maybe some of the other trees didn't do for you. Maybe you could stop and drop back into some conscious breathing, offering your exhalation as a gift to a new friend, receiving the exhalation of the tree as a gift to a new friend, and just spending a few moments just sharing breath. Really, again, I can't really express this enough, that the breath is an entry point into relationship with all beings, right? So don't overlook it. Don't think that it's too simple. It's not grandiose or ritualistic enough. It is enough. It's very powerful. And it's generally these simple things, our breath, our creative visualization, the kinds of perspectives that we hold, that make the biggest changes. So don't overlook them. So go out into the world, perceive and experience, have your own experiences of these animistic ideas that we've exploring, and let them unfold and grow over time. They snowball, right? And so the more we do the work, the bigger the realizations. The next thing is lore. Read about non-human, other than human, more than human lore from your own ancestral cultures. If you happen to share pan-Celtic ancestry with me, read about fairy lore, read about the ancient fairy faith in Celtic lands, read about elves and brownies and fairies and Puck and Herne the Hunter and all of these non-human and more than human spirits that have interacted with our people since time immemorial. Read about the old gods. Wherever you are from, there is lore to be found that talks about spirits, plant lore, lore of the old gods, lore of the ancestors. And the minute you take up that study with sincerity, even if you're just reading Grimm's fairy tales, right? That counts. You are rattling your bones, shaking your blood, right? Waking up those stories that you carry within yourself, because they're in there, right? So this is not only a nod towards your ancestors, thanking them for their stories and how those stories have usually miraculously somehow been passed down and survived colonization and forced conversion, but it's a way to reconnect with what they were doing and what they were thinking, and to wake that back up in yourself. So play with the lore, the myth, the fairy tales, the legends. There are hidden gems in those, right? We approach them with the animist vision, with the magical vision, and we can start to see between the lines what's really being said. And finally, an invitation to enter intentionally into the ritual of hospitality, the ritual of relationship. And we do this in the form of making offerings, making sacrifices, giving gifts, physical gifts that are symbolic and carry the depth of our spiritual offering, right? And so one of the easiest ways you can do this is by simply placing a safe, eco-affirming offering out, maybe in a backyard or in a space that you go often, as a gift or an offering to the many spirits who indwell that space and share that space with you. Some of the things that I like to think about are stones that have been charged with energy, bird seed, candles and incense. If you're going to sit there for a while, always go over really well with the spirits. You're making a physical gift, a physical gesture that carries a deeper energy. And in so doing, it creates room within yourself to be filled by a reciprocal gift from the spirits, right? This is true spiritual hospitality. We have an old ancient pagan saying, do des, which means I give so that you may give, right? It's very easy for us in the West especially to fall into this idea that making offerings is transactional love, right? Like the big religions, that we do things in order to get the gods to love us or to get the spirits to save us or protect us. And it's not that way at all. Those things are already going to happen by nature of relationship. We give to create space so that the spirits can give, right? If we are full and unwilling to participate in give and take, it is very hard for us to receive gift and guidance and inspiration, right? We're locked up. We think we know everything. We have everything. What we don't have, we'll do ourselves. We can handle it. We're in charge here, right? That is a locked up state that prevents reception. So we do that ritual of gifting because it kind of creates a space within us as we take out of ourselves and give. there's an empty room with which the spirits can then fill, and we then enter into this endless cycle of give, receive, give, receive, give, receive. And that is the magic of animistic magic, right? The magic hides in gifting and receiving. So maybe in your yard, in your garden, you have some plants or a tree that you're fond of, or maybe some plant allies that have fed your family, have given you fruit or berries or vegetables. This is an invitation to go out and make a gift to them. Pour water for them with a slow and intentional blessing, right? Lay out offerings of grains or charged stones. Go out and offer a small candle and some incense to them in gratitude. This is gifting, right? We can also do the same thing by pouring libations for our ancestors, putting out offerings of bread and wine or bread and mead for the gods, the more than human persons, right, that we have a connection with. So this is where the rubber hits the road, where we stop thinking about animism, we stop thinking about relationships, we stop thinking about spiritual ecology and radical spiritual reconnection, and we go out and do the thing, right? And it takes very little. If all you have to offer is water, water is enough. Spend a moment with that water, saturate it with your love and gratitude and energy and blessings, and go pour that water as an offering to the ancestors at the base of a tree that cares for you and shades and protects you, for the gods, whatever. It doesn't matter. The material value of the offering is very meaningless compared to the spiritual and energetic value of the offering. So there's your invitation to go out and connect, and you will find very quickly that as you start giving, you start receiving without having to ask, without having to do these complicated transactional acts of magic and prayer. There is a place for magic and prayer in this work, but I always teach people to spend a year and a day giving before we start asking, right? Spend a year and a day retraining your mind, reconditioning your heart, freeing your spirit, getting back into the wild parts of yourself, and really giving thanks and gift and gratitude for the lifelong amount of blessings you've received thus far. And then we can start showing up to the spirits with gifts, asking for something specific in return, and the efficacy is incredible. So I hope that you enjoyed those 3 points and that they're approachable and applicable for you. Go out and put them into practice, and you will see the benefits roll in.